For me, it was a matter of perspective. I would tell myself that I have to leverage the negative and embrace the positive. So what I can do with that is say, all right, here's an opportunity for me to create something to not only help myself, but help everybody else that's going through that same personal dilemma that I'm going through at the moment. I could have easily just said somebody will make this at some point, or they'll find a way, or there's other avenues. But again, that's where that opportunity for me turned into an obligation because of my perspective. I wasn't going to let this situation die or turn into a point where I didn't take action.
Welcome to Africa and Us. I'm your host, Nathan Araya. On today's show, we have Brandon Nsekpong. Brandon is an app developer and entrepreneur living in Austin, Texas. A few years ago, Brandon founded and created MotoBuddy, a mobile app that connects motorcycle riders with each other. I recently sat down with Brandon to explore his story. We discussed what it was like being raised by immigrant parents, finding meaningful work by building community, and how his viral marriage proposal got him on the Ellen DeGeneres show. This is Africa and Us. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, sir.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So viral sensation. Let's talk about that really quick. My man went viral in 2016?
2017.
2017.
16 million views, nothing much.
Subtle stunt.
I ended up proposing to my wife. I was at a restaurant and put the speaker on the table. I went to the Sogan challenge, which was Monica's song, Monica's beat. And I went in the lab, got a few bars, put them together, and made it look really nice, man. Got on one knee, got her the ring. The next morning, I put it on Facebook. The morning after that, I'm on Ellen, and the rest is history.
And Chance the Rapper tweeting and the whole world going crazy.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. But the real star of that was my wife.
It has to be Ashley. You were just featured.
I was just featured. I was a pawn.
Well, Brandon, man, once again, I appreciate you for being on this podcast, and I'm excited for this new creative endeavor that you have called MotoBuddy.
Yeah, I always explain it as it's motorcycle Facebook. So you can meet up with other riders. You can find out where they're at. You can communicate with them. It's the best way to get in tune with the motorcycle community around you and also around the world.
All right, so let's take it back from the very beginning. All right, so you're son of immigrant parents. Your dad is Nigerian. Your mother is Jamaican, and you grew up in America. So what was it like to grow up in a household that was multicultural and had all types of expectations?
Bombardier. That is literally the only word that I knew growing up, a bombardier. It meant, my dad told me it meant good morning. So I'm hoping I'm saying that right, Dad. I hope so. Bombardier. It was different. The expectations were really high. My dad coming from Africa, from Nigeria, when he was 18 to make a living here in America, one of his main focuses was to have his kids make it at all costs and no excuses. So he definitely instilled that in us every single day and made it tough on us. And it was one of those things where when you're growing up in as a kid, it's different because you see other kids having fun on the weekends, coming home from school and they're relaxed and they're hanging out. You know, you're coming home from school to eat fufu for the third time, to work on homework that you just worked on last week. There's not even a test. So the expectations were there. Even in sports that I played, the only route was to be first. And so if you weren't first, you're last, right? Ricky Bobby. That's what my dad said. And before Ricky Bobby said it, my dad said it. So he was always focused on that, and he pushed us as hard as possible.
I think that is one of the most difficult things that a first generation American goes through, the expectations of the immigrant parents. They mean well, and they are known as survivors coming into a country seeking education and opportunity. But the difficult and challenging time for us as first generation Americans is to figure out how do we leverage this education and opportunity. So you have external pressures that cause internal conflict. How did you deal with that growing up, coming from your father?
Honestly, I just had to do it. Whatever he said, I usually followed his lead because I respected him. I knew that he came from Nigeria at 18 years old, and he came to America, made a name for himself, made it work, supported his family, gave us the opportunity to do everything we were able to do, which is sports, go to certain schools, have certain things. And so that respect factor carried on to where I saw that and I just followed the lead. Was it tough at times? Sure. Because again, the outside expectations from the world were a lot different from inside the house, but it's something that I had to deal with daily. And I'm glad that I got through those things because again, that molded me into who I am now.
Facts. So apps and app developers weren't even around when we were in high school. So at what moment did you recognize your passion for creativity or app developing?
For me, when I was young in third grade, I would always want to go above and beyond for certain projects that the teacher gave me. If the top score was 100, I wanted to get 110 on there. I wanted to find a different way to present my presentation to the class, a way to make them laugh or something to keep them more engaged. It was a craving for attention and for recognition. And I had that just not only through academics, but also through music. I created my first song in 8th grade. Yeah, 8th grade, I created my first song.
Okay. What was it called?
It was called Jordan Song.
Jordan Song. I'm not going to let you get away with that. I'm going to have you spit some bars.
I could feel that coming. I'm prepared.
Of course you are.
All right, go ahead and catch the beat for me.
All right, let me get you a nice little beat.
Okay. Jordan shoes, Jordan shorts with some Jordan socks. Jordan nests on the court when I hit the rock. 3 seconds, I bet I hit the Jordan shot. You got them Jordan clothes on? Man, you must be hot.
Hey, I'll give it up one time for the one time.
All the fans can sit down now.
7th grade.
Yeah, 7th grade, I created the song, and it just fueled my creative juices. I was able to do that again in academics with music. I like to think I practiced acting at a young age in the classroom. It didn't go over well at home sometimes, but I got away with it, right?
You were just acting up.
It was acting. It was just up. That's the only extra part that was there. And then when I went to high school and college, it was more of the same. So I like to label myself as more of a creator. And then I fell into apps because that was a way to create. I could take something that I'm thinking about and I could use it to build something that nobody was even thinking about except myself.
So there's this American critic, writer, and teacher by the name of Howard Rheingold, and he wrote, "Pay attention to what you're paying attention to." And I think what you just mentioned, having this urge for creativity and being able to observe those things as indicators has allowed you to be able to see what you're doing now a little more clearly. So Moto Buddy, creating this app, merging both technology and community. Tell me about this story and how it was created.
Well, I have to start back about 2013, 2014. I set the table. I'm working at Sonic. I'd been there for 4 or 5 years. I'm a car hop, moved up to assistant manager to supervisor.
Did you have rollerblades?
I had rollerblades.
Yes.
I was that guy.
Yes.
I had the car hop apron. I'm almost hitting my head on the canopy. That's me. Jumping out to bring you your food. And, I'm working there a lot. And while I'm doing that, my mind's still focused on some of the things that are unfinished in my personal life. Music, acting, basketball, certain things that I wanted to pursue. Well, I kept pushing those to the side for 2 or 3 more years, accumulating accolades at Sonic, winning awards. We've got one of the top stores in the country. Things are looking very well, right? But I got to a point where the personal things that I wanted to do started superseding what I was doing at the moment. And I felt like I was not reaching my personal potential. That for me was an indicator that I had to move on. So I ended up working at Office Depot as an account manager.
So you just quit your job and then you jumped into Office Depot.
Right.
Because you were spending so much time working at Sonic.
Too much time working at Sonic. And a lot of times people would think about the physical time, but they don't understand the mental time that you're putting into a job. And that's what I was doing. I was putting in, 60 hours physically, 20 hours mentally. And now I didn't have that space to use for some of my own personal growth. But I felt like Office Depot was going to allow me to do that. So I moved over to a job that works 40 hours a week.
And you took a pay cut.
And I took a huge pay cut for a better work-life balance. So I did that. And with the extra time, now I challenged myself to pursue some of the personal things that I wanted to do, which were music, acting, basketball. So I did all of those. And that's how I fell into mobile apps again, because I had that passion after college. It had fell astray because I started working at Sonic, but now I was back into it. Well, at the time, I started riding motorcycles. I'd love seeing motorcycles as a kid growing up. My dad used to always say a motorcycle was a certificate of death. So it scared me. It scared me for years. I never wanted to get on one.
That's African parents. Everything equates to death. Everything. The slightest things that you do that's different, they will make it an extreme.
Yeah, you have not been scared yet unless you've been scared by a Nigerian parent. That is a different level of scary.
Facts.
So back to the motorcycle riding. I had seen them growing up. I got past the certificate of death part, and now I was in a position where I was going to buy a bike and start riding. So I did that. I got one. I remember getting this brand new shiny bike from the dealership. I could barely get out because I wasn't a great rider at the time, although I had taken the classes. And I get out, I ride my bike, and I start seeing all these other motorcycles on the road in Austin. Then I started realizing I only have a couple friends that ride bikes, but yet I see all of these people riding every single day. How do I bridge that gap? How can I fix that? Because I can't find anybody to ride with. So that's when I started dealing with my own personal conflict. I'm a guy that likes to get out and talk to people. I like to hang around. I want to be a part of the community, but there was no way for me to connect with other riders. So that's when I turned that opportunity and took it as an obligation for myself to find a way to create this. And
Amazing.
I started creating MotoBuddy.
Amazing. So you started with a personal dilemma and created a global solution. I think many people don't see their problems as potential solutions for others and themselves.
I agree.
What got you into that place to see it like that?
For me, it was a matter of perspective. I would tell myself that I have to leverage the negative and embrace the positive. So what I can do with that is say, all right, here's an opportunity for me to create something to not only help myself, but help everybody else that's going through that same personal dilemma that I'm going through at the moment. I could have easily just said somebody will make this at some point, or they'll find a way, or there's other avenues. But again, that's where that opportunity for me turned into an obligation because of my perspective. I wasn't going to let this situation die or turn into a point where I didn't take action.
And then you said, embrace the positive. I remember you were telling me that there were moments when you were discouraged in creating this app. So you would send messages to yourself through your computer to your phone. Tell me about what that moment consisted of.
Yeah, I would send motivational messages to myself all the time. In creating the app, I ran into a ton of challenges. And I would sit in front of the computer for 10 plus hours working on the same dilemma, the same problem, and couldn't get out of it. And it's discouraging. You feel like you fall into this pit of, it's not going to happen. You start hearing voices in your head like, maybe you can't do this. Well, what I would do is I would go to my computer. I would send a message to MotoBuddy because I had a simulator on the computer, but I also had my phone that I tested with as well. So I had essentially two MotoBuddy phones that were working. Well, I would send a message from the simulator to my phone with the inspirational quote on there. I would say, keep pushing. I would tell myself, remember why you're doing this. I even sent myself messages just with my wife's name. Remember your wife. Think about the outcome, all sorts of things. And it was delayed at the time because I wasn't as good at coding at that moment, which was great because I would look at my phone hours later and forget that I sent the messages. So now I'm in a tough time and I'm reading the messages that I told myself, and it helped me get through.
That's amazing. I loved how you created an environment for yourself to be inspired. And I don't think many people also do that. So that's huge. And I commend you for doing that in those times. How would you encourage someone that's also trying to do the same thing? They're trying to develop the next app. They're trying to create the next business, but they have a low self-esteem because of maybe some past failures. And they're trying to overcome a fear and step out in faith.
For a person like that, I think affirmations are important. I was actually talking to this lady in my job, and she had a journal that was right beside her. And I went by her desk and I said, "Hey, what's that journal for? Are you writing in some notes for your accounts?" She said, "That's my affirmation journal."
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I said, "Wow, what's in it?" She said, "What I do is every single morning I take this journal and I read the first page." And so we looked at the first page and it said, "I am great. I am beautiful. I am whatever I want to be. I can make it." So those kind of affirmations she kept reading to herself daily. That's essentially what I was doing when I sent myself motivational messages. So anybody that's in that space, if they're not sure if they can keep going, remind yourself of who you are. Keep telling yourself who you are. Because if you do that, all of a sudden you're going to continue to believe it, and then you can push through whatever circumstance you're in.
Well, I appreciate you. That's our time. What are some ways that people can get in contact with you?
Oh man, you can reach me on social media. You've got MotoBuddy on Facebook, MotoBuddy on Instagram, Twitter, MotoBuddy.com. You can email me at nsekpong@gmail.com.
You're going to have to spell that African name.
Nsekpong.
And you have to say it right. There you go.
Nsekpong.
Nsekpong.
NSEKPONG@gmail.com. Send me an email. I'd love to hear from everybody.
This concludes our episode of Africa and Us. Thank you for listening. Be sure to share the episode and follow the journey on social media with me at Nate Araya. Be encouraged.